All right, welcome back to the Real Estate Hacks podcast, everybody. Today we have Jeremy McGraw. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back.
Awesome. Graham, how are you?
Not too bad. It's been a little while. Excited to get the crew back together.
Awesome. Andrew, how about you, man? How have you been?
Oh, buddy, fantastic. Happy to be here.
Great to hear it. And today we also have a special guest, Clarke Gallie. He's a realtor in Windsor as well as a developer that focuses on tiny homes and ADUs. How you doing, Clarke?
Yeah, good. Thanks to be here, man. Excited for the show.
Awesome. I'm happy to have you on. For those of you who don't know, Clarke Gallie was really at the forefront of getting tiny homes and detached ADUs built in Windsor. He really laid down the groundwork to make it more accessible for himself and everybody else that's coming in and building these ADUs. So really happy to have you here, Clarke.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Let's dive into it.
All right, yeah. So today we're going to do a deep dive on ADUs and tiny homes. So Clarke, if you want to start off just by letting everybody know what exactly is an ADU.
Yeah. So ADU stands for additional dwelling unit. So there's three different ways you can build an additional dwelling unit on a property. It's not classified as a duplex. It's actually a classification less. There's a little bit of less restrictions around an in-law suite versus a duplex or triplex, etc. So an in-law suite can either be on the second floor of a property of a two-story home. It can either be in the basement or it can be a detached unit in the backyard. So just a little bit on Windsor bylaws. So Windsor and Amherstburg, they allow you to actually have two in-law suites, whether you want one in the top, in the basement, or in the backyard. Bill 23, it's the new provincial kind of legislature coming out. It's not implemented in Windsor yet, but that'll be provincially available to build two in-law suites on any property, any residential property in Ontario.
Okay, awesome. So I know right now for a detached ADU, it can only be a certain height. It can't go above the height of the current structure that's on the property, right?
Yeah, there's a couple main items I look for. There's a lot, but the main ones I look for is total lot coverage. So it can't exceed 10% of total lot coverage.
Okay.
It has to be an inch less than the primary house. I know for
Like an inch shorter?
there was a project I did on Hickory where I had to make the drawings, the roof, I had to curve it an inch shorter to get it passed by the city.
Wow.
So it has to be.
That's by a hair.
Yeah. It was just to slope a little bit, and we got approved. So it has to be at least an inch smaller in height than the primary building, and it has to range from 431 square feet to 1,026 square feet, based on 10% lot coverage rule. Those are the major two things I look for. There's other stuff like where am I getting services from, where am I getting hydro, sanitary, how easy is it to access, lots of other stuff. But yeah, those are the main two things to see if you're eligible or not.
Okay, and with this new bill that passed, is there any leniency with that? Has anything changed, or all still the same?
Oh, it's gonna be insane, man! I actually can't wait. It's like such a beautiful thing, but it's so annoying because it's provincially passed, but each municipality has to adopt that actual bylaw. So when I talk to the guys at the city of Windsor, I'm like, hey, when you guys gonna implement Bill 23? And they're like, oh, buddy, we're not even close to getting ready for that, which is a pain.
So each city kind of does it on their own.
Yeah,
someone might have it passed sooner than.
Yeah, for example, Barry, one of the developers I know out there, she already applied for a tiny home permit underneath Bill 23 for Barry, and they're working on that permit and kind of getting her through that legislature. But Windsor's like, we'll see, dude.
So there's no superseding that. There's, for example, that bill over supersedes the Windsor bylaws, right? So it's none of that. It has to be purely Windsor adopts it at their own pace.
Yeah, I wish Bill 23 came out and it's like, hey, every city has to have this by 2024. I wish they did something like that.
No timeline.
As far as I know, there's no timeline. It's whatever the cities
Not
feel
surprised.
like it. I know everyone got happy about it, and they're like, and now it's just out floating in the abyss, and it's like
It's just an idea, yeah.
I was so excited for it. The three major things that I was excited for that about is lot coverage, the lot 10% total lot coverage that gets abolished. Parking requirements that gets abolished. That was a big one in the city of Windsor as well, is dealing with parking. So you can build basically whatever you want and wherever you want without having parking requirements, which is
That's huge.
It's massive. You don't have to deal with one bedrooms anymore, because I just pump those out because that's what most city lots allow. You could really do whatever Ontario Building Code allows you to do at that point, from my understanding of the bill.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it looks really cool, but we'll see when Windsor gets it.
Have you seen that Toronto one where they're allowing up to about 6 units? I think is that how it's going?
Really? 6 units?
Up to 6 units on one lot. Yeah, I was reading the
That's
little
wild.
bit of they have this huge thing on their website which allows you to kind of it's kind of showcasing what's going to be happening, and some of the stuff they have on there is quite amazing.
Which website's that?
It's on the City of Windsor. Sorry, not City of Windsor. City of Toronto. If you go to Toronto, I don't know the website there,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
one of my clients actually showed it to me one day, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So obviously I kind of like quickly read through it. I didn't go over it all the way, but what they're saying is there's going to be, they want to push it so much with infill that they want to allow up to 6 units, right? So
Nice.
we'll see how that plays into effect. I just didn't know if you read into that or not, because I know it's somewhat new and it's not in place just yet.
Yeah, no, I saw pictures about it, but I haven't. I just know Windsor like the back of my hand. Anything outside of Windsor, I'm
Of course.
pretty dumb with, so I don't.
It's gonna be crazy if that, imagine 6 units on a residential property. That's a lot. Yeah, a lot of units.
Okay. Okay, yeah, quick elevator pitch of Clarke Gallie. So yeah, basically I was in high school, and I don't know what clicked in high school, but my family essentially had to kind of downsize their house and move into like a smaller house. And it kind of hit me. I was like, man, my parents are like super nice. They're cool people. Like, why can't we have nice things? And they're like, oh, we can't afford the house. And I was like,
Wow.
what do you mean you can't afford it? Like, the hell? You guys are good people. You guys deserve good things. And then like it just like triggered my brain. Like, oh no, that doesn't even matter. Like, you need to make money. Like, I don't know. It just triggered early on.
Just that realization growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like in high school, I was like flipping a bunch of stuff on Kijiji, just like making I don't know, a couple grand, kind of just doing that, and had like part-time jobs.
What were you flipping?
I would buy like big electronic
Gary
packages.
Vee type stuff.
Yeah, before Gary Vee was Gary Vee. Yeah. I was just buying like I don't know, $800 for like a big TV, Xbox, bunch of games, and then I would sell it one by one.
I used to do that too. I used to buy like consoles with the games, and I would sell the console separately and the game separately.
Really?
Make, like
Yeah.
80, $100, and you're like 16. You know, it's cool.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
a baller at 16.
You do feel like a boss.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd also flip like silver coins and stuff on there too.
I never got into that. But yeah, so I was doing that, trying to make some money, and then my one friend was like, "Hey, Clark, do you guys know Matt and Cassidy?"
Yeah. I've watched them on YouTube before.
Yeah, so they were like the OG, like original, like real estate investor group people in Windsor. This is like 7, 8 years ago now. But my friends, hey Clark, they're setting up a painting business. Like I think you really like them. You should go meet with them. So I was working as a painter for them, and I was eventually painting this one building. They're like, oh yeah, this is our triplex, and they're like 20 years old. They had this beautiful triplex on
Like, how
Lincoln,
do they do this?
right by the water. Yeah, and I was like, the hell? Like, how do you guys have this much money? They're like, oh, then they like sat me down, taught me what a mortgage was, taught me what real estate was, taught me everything that I need to know. They're like, yeah, Clark, if you can find a deal, like we'll pay you a wholesale fee. And I'm like, well, that seems pretty cool. So I
How
ended up-
old were you then?
16
Okay.
17.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was on Kijiji just cold calling every single for sale by owner on there.
Wow.
Managed to
Machine.
find a duplex on Peter Street for 80 grand, 5% down, vendor take back at 3%. And I wholesaled that to them. I should have taken myself
It's a good
100%. But my parents were
Would
like,
you guys take that deal today?
I have to
No
think about
questions
it.
asked.
I have to think about it. Yeah.
All over it.
it was ridiculous. So I told my parents, like, hey, should I buy this? They're like, Clark, like, you don't know how to fucking swing a hammer. Like, you're not going to buy this house. And I was like, okay, touche. So I wholesaled to them for $2,500, and that blew my mind. I was like, this is insane. The amount of money I just made off this one deal is absolutely absurd. So I did proceed to do that 3 or 4 more wholesale deals. And then university started. I started in finance, computer science. And then I started a property management company, Windsor Rent, grew and sold that to Dan Jemus, who operated as Goldmar. And then after that, when I worked at CBRE, the world's largest commercial real estate company, underwrote some big deals. The security building was the biggest deal I underwrote there. That was like a, I don't know, $2-3 million office to residential conversion
Nice.
play. A couple other strip malls, vacant land, stuff like that. And then right when COVID happened, I kind of thought, like, the world's shaking up. I might as well shake up my life as well. Quit the job at CBRE, became a realtor, and then started the tiny
Graham
home
used to work at
business.
CBRE, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny that we both started there. I mean, I was starting just in Toronto, but and then I kind of decided to do my cowboy investing thing here at Windsor and actually did property management just like you. That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's
a lot of
pretty,
connections.
if you did wholesaling, we'd have been the same person.
Yeah. I can't copy everything. you do.
But yeah, no, it was, really I wanted to, because I also did, I guess, a couple like fix and flips kind of between there as well. But my business partner, Nathan, when I was starting the Windsor Rent Property Management Company, I was on Bigger Pockets, just cold calling every single landlord that had ever posted in Windsor. Being like, hey, can I lease or manage property? Hey, can I lease or manage property? Like just every single person out there.
Sick. I like that.
And then Nathan, he reached out and he's like, yeah, sure. We sat down with him. He's like, hey, it's a cool concept. Like, can I buy into your company? And I was like, cool, man. I don't even know what that means, but sure, let's do it. So we sat down, and then he became a partner kind of early on. And then since then, me and him just really connected on like everything real estate.
Wow. It's a pretty cool story.
And
Yeah,
with him,
no,
we
we're-
grew the tiny homes.
Yeah, we did a couple fix and flips, and then
You guys are still partners together right now.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's like the N in like NC Capital there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Why tiny homes? So where did it go from there? Because you met Nathan there. How did it go from that to tiny homes, and why tiny homes?
Yeah, we kind of always had this like we had another company where we like scraped together a bunch of rental data and tried to sell rental packages to other companies. Like we've always just like really been. He works like as innovation for this like big car manufacturing company. We've always just really liked that entrepreneurship, like new business kind of stuff. So we're like, okay, how can we get into real estate, do development? Because we were really fascinated with development as well. But we're also not a huge fan of raising a bunch of money. I know that's like the opposite of like everyone in real estate is like leverage, raise as much money as you can. But like we do not like that. Like every single land we buy it in cash. We just really not a fan of leverage. So, like how do we do development without taking on a shit ton of money?
You guys own 100% of your company, right? There's no outside.
Yeah. People have tried to pitch us for that, but we're like,
What's the reasoning behind that with the leverage and just like personal preference? Because I guess to each their own.
I guess for what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
It's not a bad play. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have no leverage. Basically, most of my properties, I think, are about 40-50% like leverage. So I have almost no. I haven't refinanced a single property yet. So I mean, I can go back and at this point, like, why am I going to do it at 6% mortgage when most of my properties are locked in for like 2% or less? So it comes down to sure I have a lot of equity, but then I can actually utilize that equity as basically blanket mortgages on some of the properties I buy now. So
Yeah, smart.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like a nice, like, what we're experiencing now, like, I'm sure Jeremy and Andrew, you're getting a lot of this where clients are just like freaking out on the phone with you guys. Just like, well, my mortgage went up, like none of this works. I'm losing money every single month.
Or they
like,
want to sell because
they're just not making,
rates
like,
are up.
yeah, imagine the, a couple of duplexes you got. I'm sure there's people that aren't making money or they just like want to sell. And it's like, I just never wanted to be in that position where, okay, if interest rates shoot up, tenants stop paying rent. Like, I don't want to stress.
You're screwed, yeah.
That's actually what I was about to mention too, because I have a client going through this. They bought a property, a duplex last year. The main floor tenant's not paying rent. They were on a variable mortgage because that's what their mortgage agent told them to do. And now their mortgage went from like 2.5% to 6%. And they're still, after almost over 12 months into the property, they don't have a court case. They don't have nothing, and they don't have any money coming in from that main floor unit. And their mortgage has gone up $600 or $700 a month.
That's a really dangerous position to be in, man.
And then they're calling me up going, can I sell this property? But the property value has already dropped 50, 60,000, which is pretty decent considering that some properties have dropped 200,000 or more. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just a scary position to be in. Like, obviously, once I do the development, I have leverage on that. I refinance and put a mortgage on that. But just the initial kind of acquiring, get everything set up. I just don't want to be in a position where I'm bleeding. Because especially now that I run the construction company, the first 2 years managing cash flow was like an eye opener. Like finance business class, you always realize like, oh, like net 30, net 40, net 180 days. Like, hey, you can invoice. How long do I have to actually pay it off? And then managing that money in like corporate finance, I was like, it kind of made sense. But experiencing that firsthand running a construction company, I was like, I'm sure you see that.
Graham's
It's like,
getting PTSD thinking about it right now.
it's that also stressed me out, and I was like, damn, I don't want to be in that situation either. How do I grow but not too fast? Where like I'm not, people call me for debts, and I'm calling on people to get the money back. It's just managing that is why I don't want to grow too fast and why I don't do a lot of leverage.
Slow and steady wins the race, what you're saying.
I'd rather do a 10, 15-year game plan and be calm than stress out and do it in 7.
Good for you.
Personally. But
When you got into tiny homes, did you know that, so we were talking about 2 episodes ago, the ADU search tool, adusearch.com.
my enemy, yes.
Yeah, so there's somewhere around 30,000 properties that qualify for an ADU. Did you know that going into like starting the business, or?
I kind of thought any residential
It's almost like a gold mine. Like there's a lot of properties that qualify for it.
Yeah, and I always, like, when I got into it, I thought my target audience would have been investors the whole time. But honestly, half of my clients are people that have a grandparents they don't want to send to a retirement home. They'll put it in the back and hire on-site care. Or parents. Actually, I have 2 clients where parents are going to build the tiny home, move in the back, and then move their kids into the main house.
Wow, that's creative.
And that's 2 clients I'm doing this year. 3 for the grandparents, and the other half are all investors. But I didn't even realize that was my target audience. And then as I got more into that, I was like, oh wow, this is a whole. And like those grandparents, they buy these things in cash.
Yeah,
They like sold their
they're,
condo.
They're probably mortgage free from before, and they got some cash. And
Yeah, and like that blew my mind. I was like, wait, people are, like, it just, like I knew every residential lot in the city, like a lot of them would allow for tiny home, and then open that demographic to like, oh, it's not just investors, it's like homeowners too.
Good question, because what I'm going to go on with this right now is basically you're talking about people like family members building in the back. Are these mostly in properties that have alleyways, or like for example, how about in an area like South Windsor or LaSalle where it's a newer development, newer neighborhood where there isn't
alleyways,
alleyways?
Yeah, so for that situation, they just build like like usually like you'll come up to a house, there's like a driveway, a garage, the house, and like a little gate to the side.
Yeah.
So they'll just do a path, like a cement path through that gate all the way to the back, and then just have like the house back there. So they'll park at the front, but then they'll have like a cement pad to like the back of their house.
Yeah, like last year I was in a 3,000 square foot house in Southwood Lakes, and he actually got approved for an ADU. So he's gonna build one.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can get your referral.
Yeah, there we go.
Southwood Lakes, yeah. I mean, anywhere that makes sense,
I
right?
thought it was wild. I'm like, really, Southwood Lakes ADU? But I mean, yeah, why not?
Right on the pond.
No, not in the pond. I mean, the neighbors might not be too happy with an ADU in that neighborhood, but
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing is
Yeah.
a lot of South Windsor clients will go quote. They're like,
NIMBYism, is that what they call it? Not in my backyard.
yeah, there's a lot of that. But any South Windsor client I've had, there's like, oh, I'm not sure what my neighbors will think. Like, I'm not sure if they'll be happy for it. And like West End and downtown Windsor, thought didn't even cross their mind.
No, they're like, I don't care.
Yeah, so that's been an interesting thing to see. As
The
well.
least of the worries down there, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, development. This is great for our area.
How are the numbers for the ADUs? Like, if somebody finances it with 20% down, are you seeing that your clients, like they're going to cash flow a certain amount each month, or?
Yeah, the high level numbers, because you don't, like, I'm sure you can probably speak on this a little more than myself, but the way that I do it or my clients have done it is either building it in cash or getting a private loan to build the tiny home and then refinance the whole property afterwards.
Right.
So the debt really changes a lot. But when you build a brand new tiny home, the insurance really doesn't go up that much for the additional unit. Taxes really don't go up that much, and they pay their own utilities.
Okay.
So the expenses on the whole property doesn't go up that much for adding another unit. That I typically rent the 1 bedrooms for about $1,300, and then the 2 bedrooms upwards of like $1,550.
Okay, cool. And then, like, just speaking about bad tenants, I want to backtrack a little bit. So, because of ADUs, they're built after 2018. Does the LTB apply when it comes to like increasing the rent each year?
Rent control?
I've been told by property managers that we get filtered into that. So yeah, because it's a new dev, we get in that new dev like rent control.
Even though it's on a property that was built before 2018.
Yeah, I haven't talked to a lawyer about it, but property managers told me that I'd be
Okay,
eligible.
really cool. Okay.
That's a very, very good question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really big value add there for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been told by property managers yes, but I just haven't asked a lawyer to be honest. But
Okay, cool.
I should check that.
So talking about value adds, we haven't talked about this, but what is the cost of doing it? Because for right now, Andrew, what's the average price of a house in Windsor to buy a house? Right now?
Around 520 is like the average house.
520 in a condo. If a 1-bedroom condo right now is going for $250, then you got to spend $600 a month in condo fees. So you're in for all this money, right? On an older resale property. And you don't even own it because you're in a condo, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
So you're in something that's, you have to go with whatever that condo corp tells you to do. But how about a tiny home? Because we haven't talked about the price point yet. Like how low and how high can these things get? Obviously, you can do whatever you really want and add whatever you want into it. But what's been the going rate? Obviously, you've done quite a few.
Yeah, it really kind of depends. The big thing I always say is if you can go bigger, you should go bigger. That's why I'm so excited for Build 23 because let's say you build a 431 square foot house, you still have to build the roof, you still have to build the foundation, you still have to get services there, you still have to build the kitchen, you still have to build the bathroom. And if you build a 700 square foot house, you just need a bit more flooring, a bit more shingles, and some more drywall.
It's like building a 2-story home versus say a raised ranch. Like it's cheaper to go up than it is. See what I mean?
Yeah, or like even just to like get everything you need to like
To the site, yeah.
It's gonna be the same.
It's already
furnace.
going to be there.
Yeah, it's like the same furnace for a 400 square foot house versus like a 900 square foot house.
Sure.
You still paying that like $6 or $7 grand for a furnace, but it's so like the more incremental square foot go, the cheaper per square foot cost it goes. But we retail them anywhere from about 160 to 240.
So a 160 would be approximately how much square foot?
That would be our
Would be like a
431.
one bed?
Or 431 square feet, one bed, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And those rent for about 13
It's pretty good numbers.
That's like a 10 cap.
That doesn't include any like landscaping or anything like that. That would just be your house with the
Yeah, that's just the house, gravel driveway, and like sod at least later
yeah.
on.
Built on pillar and post or built on a slab.
The helical panels, yeah.
Okay, understood. Yeah, what differentiates your tiny homes from, let's say, another tiny home builder?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think we do is, honestly, the biggest thing is like people will come to us and be like, hey, this is the tiny home I want. We have 2-3 hours with their architect, and then I call them again when the house is done. So really, they are like, we handle all the permitting process. We handle
You make it really easy for the customer.
Yeah. Like our customers, the ones that are investors, they're not from the city. So, you guys deal with a lot of out of towners. There's like actual level customer service that goes into like making sure the process is smooth. So we do that, but building a house. So it's just that I find that, most of our customers are repeat or they refer us just because the process they decide.
So
like,
easy.
Yeah.
It's just like Amazon. They got that one-click buy button. Like they just want to make it no friction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the goal is, we even built out this kind of like material selection checklist. Like I went around to a bunch of, open houses for like pre-cons and stole all their booklets and brochures.
Sick.
And
So it's all about the service, essentially. Like it's getting that service to a certain level where it's just everything's optimized. You have everything built out, and then focusing obviously on the finished product.
Yeah, and that's why I'm scary to grow like faster is because
Yeah.
like I don't want to mess that up. Like I want like every customer to be like, holy shit, that was great. Let's do another one. I'd rather have that like over and over than, just expand too fast.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't want
that's-
to pump them out like Chrysler.
Yeah. That's what I'm eventually, but
At some point, yeah.
But that's huge though, because Andrew can speak on this as well. Because when we deal with new build clients, the biggest thing we probably get is, or at least for me, is people going, that's overwhelming with the amount of stuff that their choices, right? They get overwhelmed because for a lot of people, like you said, they just want it to be done. They want a quick experience. They want the easy stuff. They don't want to be going through 500 different types of tiles and countertops and all that, right?
It builds a lot of work.
It is stressful. My parents went through it and they're like, man, I don't even want to do this ever again. They're like, there's just too many options.
Yeah. And then you might pick the wrong option. Like I know someone recently that picked supposedly gray paint and it turned out to be like pastel blue
okay, yeah.
and like $1 million plus house. So pastel blue's not in, just so you guys know.
It's an expensive mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like that's why like we even have like in our brochure it's like models 1 to 6. Here's like the top common paint colors. Here's the top common like floors. So really you just got to go through and either do it in person with them or kind of do a Zoom call and kind of click all the options and then
That's cool.
you just there's change orders, they can do that up. But yeah, really it's just like how do we just get the process to not suck.
I think what else really puts you guys ahead of the other developers too is you guys are quick. You guys have the process down. You have your own warehouse and everything.
Yeah, how long does it take you to build one of these things?
We do a unit every 45 days or so, 45 or 60 days.
Oh, cool. So if I called you today to build one, you'd have it done like end of April, beginning of May.
I would call the city, wait 6 months for a permit, and then I would come in.
Okay.
Yeah, the city's on. Rough timelines is like, so I call it like a 3-phase development process. The first phase is permitting and prep. So you got to get your architecture drawings, you got to get your grade plan, you got to get your engineer stamp drawings, NWIN approval, servicing approval, water approval. See, there's like 7 to 9 documents really you need.
Okay.
And you guys take care of all that.
Yeah, we do all that.
Okay. And so from start to finish for that process, phase 1, how long is that? 6 months?
No, so phase 1 is permitting and prep, so getting the stuff you need to submit to the city.
Okay.
Okay.
That takes about a month and a half. The longest being the survey, honestly.
Yeah.
Survey and architecture drawing, because the architect can't place the house on the survey until it's done. So it's kind of one or the other kind of thing. Clarke surveyors, Verhagen surveyors, they're just about 45, 60 days for getting the stuff out right now. It's about a month and a half-ish to do the permitting and prep. Then I get all the documents, submit it to the city. And it takes 4 months for the city to approve the same tiny home I've built 11 times.
Wow.
But that's beyond me. That's all right. But that takes 4 months for the city to okay it. Then once they okay it, we're 6 months into the process, then it takes me 45.
It's a good thing the city doesn't run your business.
Dude, that's what, oh God.
Wouldn't be no business if they ran it.
There's no talks about speeding that up at all, eh? Even now, I think are they back in the offices now? I think because there was.
Daniel's going there today because they don't pick up the phone.
Yeah. I probably go there at least once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
It does. That's kind of the nice thing about being in Windsor is like it
Should get you an office there.
They really should. I walk in, they're like, "Oh, Clarke, about this property." I'm like, "Yep." To talk to, like, it's just they know me now, and
That's
it's
nice.
like it's such a It actually helps you though. Like when I go to the city, I'll go home that afternoon and then see the permit has been moved along the process. Like they do take you more seriously.
Probably because you go in there so much. Like you're in there, they know you.
Yeah. It's probably something to do with that, but like it's like you said, she's going into the city to push it because they just don't answer the phones. They just
Sometimes you just gotta go in.
How has the permit process changed from the start, your first tiny home ever, to now for you? Has it become a shorter period? Is there a way to expedite it for you because you're doing so many?
You would think it would expedite it, but it really hasn't. Because the main issue is, this is what I'm kind of learning recently too. My partner Nate, he's more the like engineer and kind of does all that stuff, but we're kind of learning this process together, obviously. But the main thing is like you can interpret Ontario Building Code kind of however you want. Like there's certain like legislature on like, hey, certain bedroom size has to be this, certain closet has to be this. But there's one rule that I just got tripped up on where it's like, hey, your bedroom, I think it had to be like, the bedroom had to be a certain size, but it could be bigger if another subsection was like, it can be bigger if your closet is deemed like appropriate design to accommodate a small bedroom space. It's like, what the hell does that even mean, dude?
How do you interpret that?
Yeah, it's like I interpret it as like, cool, I'll build some shelves in the closet and I'm good to go. And then he's like, oh well, no, you gotta like actually like draw like what kind of closets you're gonna be doing on the actual architecture permit to the city. And I was like, what the hell? Like, how does this come up with the 10th build but not the first? Like, it's so that there's little stuff that comes up. The process has gotten a lot easier, but it's crazy little trip ups I'm still seeing.
Wow. So as a realtor and being a home builder, tiny home builder, and homes, where do you see real estate heading in Ontario? Like, do you see us, having to use this infill land, or do you see the development us keeping up with immigration, or what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I'm sure you guys, all of you guys are gonna know about the new rental licensing in Windsor that's happening like the West End.
It was a protest. It was yesterday, I think.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I think there was like 70 people out there.
No shit. I should have been there. Damn.
Yeah, there's a whole group on WhatsApp.
Okay, I need to join that. Send me it after. I need to.
I tried. They didn't let me in.
It's admin protected now.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to screen like
Screen is
people.
going in.
Yeah.
Who do I have to contact there? Yeah,
Graham was a CBC reporter.
Well, they got 2,300 people to sign a petition, I think.
Yeah.
To get rid of it. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to go through.
Shastina actually just posted, so my business partner just posted it to our WhatsApp group for our Remax Capital Diamond. And I think it was at 2,500 now, as of maybe about an hour ago.
Okay. This was last night I checked.
2,500, yeah, it's growing.
But I still think it's going to go through.
Of course it is.
Like every city has it. So they're just going to be like, well.
In theory, it's a great idea, but I mean, there's an old saying that everything the government touches they should never be in the business of anything. They are horrible. Just make the legislation as easy as possible, and then that's it. Focus on, and then have it run by someone else, because everything the government touches is horrible.
Yeah. And if anybody needs any help with the process or their electrical safety assessment, they can call Thompson Electrical.
Well, plug there, right?
226-773-2010.
Yeah, you guys should get your hands on that petition, try and get the names. Probably some leads in there, eh?
There could be some leads for tiny homes maybe too.
Hey, you want to sell your rental?
That's funny. That's a 2,500 cold call list right there, man.
That's not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. We actually did a Facebook ad and it went sort of viral. We have it sounds like the town hall meeting. Everybody's giving their opinions and it's pretty fun to read. Yeah, there's actually been some cool ideas. There was one guy on there, just reading through, who presented an idea that they should refund the landlords that pass all the safety to reward the good landlords, because if they want to punish the bad ones, they should do it. I mean, if your property's a safety hazard, then punish those guys, but reward the guys that are taking care of the
There's a lot of
property.
good landlords that have nice properties.
Yeah,
Like, I know some of
absolutely.
them, they take really good care of their tenants. Some of them, obviously, some student rentals you've been in, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to take my shoes off in here, but some of them are nice. Like
Yeah, like for example, like there's like two things that really bugs me about that rental license thing. But like I have a triplex that we just built in the West End, and like literally 2022 completion, and now I got to pay the rental license.
One unit off, right? You have to have 4 units or less.
That's the thing that
wow.
bothers me the most. So, like about the rental license thing, like I don't want to dive into it too much, but like
yeah.
it primarily targets like the middle, I guess, class trying to get to the other upper class. Like multi-millionaires not owning duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes in the West End.
They got commercial buildings.
It's the average guys that are trying to step up to the next class that is being primarily targeted with this. That's the thing that pissed me off the most.
Yeah.
Man.
And something I just learned, I thought it was maybe just based off the property in general. It's per unit.
Yes.
I did not realize that was per unit.
Yeah, so your triplex, you do it 3 times.
3 times.
It's 3 criminal
Wow.
checks, 3. It's like, come on, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That part's absurd too.
That's going to make rents go up too, because usually when there's more expenses, it usually gets passed on to the tenants, right? So I don't think it's going to help really at all. So
Yeah, kind of going back to the future real estate question, like that's the thing that scares me the most is like how long it takes me to build a tiny home, and then how long it takes to build like apartment buildings and all this kind of stuff, and like the amount of like immigration never really scared me on terms of like, oh yeah, this is gonna be homes for everyone, but like I'm like, holy crap, no, there's like all the student houses we tour, they're like doubling up on beds now.
Yeah.
There's like 2, 3,
Yeah.
4 people in a bedroom.
Yeah.
Just to be able to make it work. Like there's just so many people coming in and so hard to build like new product. And then now they're actually removing product from the city on stuff that won't pass this rental licensing thing. Like that freaks me out. But that's just Windsor. I don't know Canada or Ontario as a whole, but like firsthand seeing what we see in Windsor, like it's real, dude.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Well, Windsor alone needs 30,000 homes over the next 10 years. So you got to start building, man.
Yeah.
Prices have gone up, land's gone up, right? I mean, the average person, a decent house now, I mean, we've seen increase every month in prices, right? It's not as affordable, and to be able to do a tiny home, I think is a great idea. Obviously, it's not the best situation for anyone. I mean, obviously, maybe for the elderly, right? But as a kid, obviously you want to be behind your parents' house, but it's a great way to at least have your own space. Is my thought process, and then for someone who also just can buy a house and then have potential rent to be able to help pay for that house, is a great way to be a little bit of an entrepreneur, to be able to afford your house. I think it's a great option. And actually, I was having a conversation with Graeme, and he let me know Windsor's starting to name some of their alleyways. Is that true, Graeme?
Oh, I noticed it on one alleyway that it said it was like Parent Place. And I'm not sure if that's in between Langlois and Parent. I'm not sure if that's going to be, make it a roadway or add more space for more ADUs or more builds. But yeah, I did notice that. That was different.
That's a good point because I noticed that as well. But it's also interesting because it's more in like Walkerville and downtown Windsor that I'm seeing they really. So the other thing with alleyways is that if you were to build a tiny home off an alley, the alley can only be asphalt or cement, or they don't deem it a usable alley. So, because I've done some alleys where it's like hard packed, because they use like hard packed surfaces. Again, it's whatever the city interprets. So they use the term hard packed surface. So I went there, took a photo of it. I was like, yeah, this is dirt. Looks pretty hard to me.
Packed. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, and I was like, can I build off this? So like, no, it's actually not asphalt or cement. I was like, then be a little more descriptive, dude. Like, so I got denied doing a.
Get a gravel truck down there.
That's what I ended up doing. And then they called me and like, hey, remove this gravel, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
I was
Just
like,
send them a new photo.
I know. I was like, dude, I'm doing your work for you, but it's whatever.
Did they actually?
Yeah.
Wow.
Got a work order for it.
Thanks for doing our job. Wow,
I know.
that's ridiculous.
It was a pain. But so anyway, so going back to that, they they're really on board the closing alleys in like East Windsor, South, not really many in South Windsor, but East Windsor, I see them closing a lot of alleys out there. But in downtown and Walkerville, I see them like tossing up red signs with like naming alleys now. Like they actually have like, I don't know if you noticed, they have a red sign out there.
Wow.
It's like not a green, like plate. It'll be like a post, like a red sign, and actually name that alley.
Really?
So they're pushing it in Walkerville and downtown Windsor, but East Windsor, they're just like buying up and closing up the last alleys they can.
why is that? Why are they closing up the alleys?
I think it's just a pain to maintain, especially if it's like an overgrown grass alley. Like they don't want to maintain it. Is my biggest thought.
Just get rid of it.
This doesn't really make as much sense, I guess, in the east side, like with that old school style and the like downtown and the Walkerville area. You kind of have that. It's kind of good because that's where the parking is, right? Street parking is another thing too. With most of the houses in East Windsor, South Windsor, you have most people will have at least a single car driveway that's maybe 2 or 3 cars deep, right? At least. Where in Walkerville or downtown, you're lucky to even get a driveway if you're lucky, right? And then you're competing with your other neighbors to get a parking spot, and that's just for 1 car.
Yeah. Well, if you're near the hospital, all the nurses park there.
Of course.
Yeah, no, it's really it's really interesting because like especially in like I don't travel that much, so you guys could probably talk more this than me. But like whenever I go to Detroit, sometimes like there are like alley bars. Like there is like
Oh, it's so cool.
there are cool freaking things happening off the alleys there, and like I don't know if that's what Windsor's trying to do, but like
Windsor should do something like that.
it's
cool.
such a cool like flip a garage around, turn it into like a bar, and then have parties. Like I don't know if that's what Windsor's trying to get to with the downtown Walkerville stuff, but
That would be nice.
Detroit.
Isn't there a
does
new
really
Walkerville plan where they're doing a bridge from like
Yes.
the boardwalk on the water into like kind of Vito's area? And I think they want to turn one of those alleys into something like that, which would be like amazing.
What's it? Like the Distillery Square.
Distillery District.
Distillery District. That's what
Yeah,
we call
similar
it.
to what they're doing in Toronto there.
And they had
Toronto's
this
is
thing
nice.
where they had the alleyway and it was like shops, kind of like Maiden Lane, I think, right?
Well, they proposed that, but then I just saw that building go up for sale. So it's like, how did we propose it with that space? But now that building's up for sale. Anyways, I don't know if that's gonna go through.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Rosati's have like a hand in like most stuff going on there now.
Yeah, Rosati and the basketball player's name. What's his name?
Berkovich.
Berkovich, Walkerville Brewery.
Yeah, those guys are partnering up. Yeah, so Clarke, if someone's a homeowner investor, what should they look for in their property before they call you, and then at what point should they call you? And what's the right time to call you? Anytime or?
Yeah, really, anytime. I've been doing, I think this week I've already done 4 tiny home quotes. So I get a call. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about a tiny home. Like, when and where? I'll be there. Like, I'll like show up at their house with a clipboard, measure tape, and see what can get done.
Cool.
So yeah, really easy to get a hold of me. I'll show up whenever, wherever. Or if you want to do a little bit of research beforehand, ADU Search. Honestly, it's actually a great website.
cool.
I'm not a developer there. They actually, that website's a pretty good job. It's like 90% accurate, I'd say.
Okay.
Like 10% I've noticed is off, but it's accurate pretty often.
Still worth calling you if it doesn't show up as an available lot, or?
Yeah, like one came up as red on Monday that I went to go check out, but I went there and I was like, there's zero reason why there should be red, man. Like,
Can you tell us the colors, like what they mean, like green, yellow, red?
yeah, I'd have to pull it up. I'm pretty sure green is like, hey, you can build a tiny home here. Yellow is like, you're probably good, but based on our software, we might have a bug. And red's like, no, you definitely can't build it here. But
There's a lot of green.
a lot of green.
Tons of green.
I haven't seen too much red, but I've seen quite a bit of yellow, and a lot of it, I don't know if it has, because some houses will have garages. Like if, for example, if you want to do an ADU and you have a garage, you might have to get rid of the garage or turn that garage into the other unit, right? Is that true or?
Yeah, that's true. So if you have, for simplicity's sake, let's say you have like a total lot area of, let's say 5,000. So 10% of that would be 500. So you can do a 500 square foot build. But you have a detached garage that's actually like 100 square feet. The detached building allowable square footage is attributed to that garage as well as that tiny home you're going to build. So that 500 square feet minus the 100 square feet of the garage, you can only do a 400 square foot tiny home now. But easy way to get around that is if your garage is close, you can just build a freaking breezeway through it. Like just toss up like quick fencing, quick little roof, attach your garage to your house, and then now it's an attached garage, not a detached garage. The square footage gets ripped away, and now you can do a full 500 square foot build back there.
Smart.
It's a good hack.
Nice little workaround.
Yeah, nice little real estate hacks. But so you can do that, or just demolish garage or convert it. But we're doing one breezeway next year just to kind of get around that.
Can you convert a garage into a detached ADU?
Is that a thing?
You can. I know Savvy Almeida's done it before.
Okay.
I've seen a couple others in the city, not legal, that are like that as
I'll see a
well.
few of those too. Yeah.
We call them what?
I've seen some nice garage units, illegal ones.
Yeah.
But very nice.
Some
Like
of them are
fireplaces, hydro, whole deal.
Oh no, when I got the first tiny home appraised, I was like, all cocky, kind of like, impressed myself. And I was talking to the appraiser, I'm like, yeah, it's like the first one. Yeah. And he's like, buddy, relax. This is like the 20th. And then I was like, what do you mean? He's like, here's the first legal one. Sure. But he's like, there's a lot in the city, dude. And I was like, all right. So yeah, there's a lot of illegal ones that are really, really beautiful.
How many detached ADUs would you say there is like roughly in Windsor, Essex County right now?
That's a good question.
Legal or illegal?
You know what? Both.
Yeah.
Legal, I'd honestly probably say it's probably close to 50 to 75 now. Either built or in permitting stages. Because when I talk to the guys at the city, like, I'm like, oh, how's it going? They're like, oh, good. Like, you know, like your permits of like one of like 15 right now. So the detached ones, I see just a lot more coming up. Illegal, probably like 100 plus, man.
Yeah.
Look at my first one. The appraiser alone knew of like 15 or 20s, maybe even like 200.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, the tiny home's cool because, or ADU, because it seems like, you know, if you're getting into the market and you want to become an investor, it's a big value add to property where you could pick up a house for 350, 400,000 in Walkerville, maybe cheaper if it's off market.
Yeah.
You know, call you right away, get a quote, get one built and refi.
Or even the side lot splits. Like, I know that's been a big, another like real estate hack, where you get a double lot. Like, I know, Graeme, you almost did that on your, the one property you had out here.
Marco did that with Randolph Suites.
Yeah, Randall Suites.
Double
Yeah, that was
lot,
a
split it.
beautiful lot split.
Yeah, super nice.
So it's it's get a property that has, you know, a double lot, or kind of a little bit more land and apply for severance, and basically you can create a whole new address and a whole new land and a whole new lot that retail. I don't know, the average one, this like 30 by 100 is like 100, 110K or something like that. But if you can pick a property up and do that yourself, then that's like instant equity, and then you have that paid for in cash essentially because you don't have a mortgage on that piece of land. Then now you have this paid for piece of land in cash. Then you can go get a construction loan on it, and you have essentially out of pocket, like $0 out of pocket for building whatever you want to build in this vacant piece of land. And that's just another beautiful way to do it.
That's nice.
Construction loans, are they easy to get for a tiny home?
No.
Is that, Mike, we were talking about that maybe 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, like they're easy if you go private, but if you're trying to go on the A side, it's a little complicated.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a little tricky for sure.
And that's why
What's so tricky about it?
Just because like it has to like it depends on how you're doing it. So usually like if you own the house, you know, you have to take the services from that main unit and put it to the other property. So that kind of complicates because it's not like you're just like building a separate property.
Right.
Like there has to be another house attached to it. And usually you already have financing on that house. And it's hard to get other financing to go behind another lender, right? Kind of complicated because like most banks, if you try to get like a second position mortgage on the property, like you can do it, but if they find out that you have that on there, they can call it mortgage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a little sticky. Like it can be done, but yeah, I guess a little.
You gotta have a
tricky
good
for sure.
broker, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I can do a little plug for your phone number. Or
Yeah. If you're looking for a broker who can get this done, you know, my number is 226-346-7548.
There we go.
I have another question for Mike here. In my experience as a realtor, I've been to a few houses, I think 2 or 3 now, that had, well, maybe say illegal secondary units, right? You know, but they were 50, 60 years old. And the biggest issue we've had with them has been getting a mortgage. I remember one, I want to say it was Valente had it at the time. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. It was 2 nice houses. I almost bought it for myself, but the only way to buy it, I think, through the mortgage at the time was 5% down. Like CMHC would do it, but a traditional 20% lender would not do it. And then just recently, there was a property on, I don't know if it was St. Luke, but in that Drouillard Ford City area, there was 2 houses on one lot, very good price point for my client. And my client really wanted it, but the issue was the mortgage. And we tried multiple different ways without going private. And I think the person that owned it was on private because of that situation. Is that because it's illegal units? Or?
It's super tough. I've had a few of these deals in the last year. There are ways to get it done. Like I do know lenders now that will do it. They're outside the broker channel, so I have to refer it out, unfortunately. But yeah, so when there's 2 separate properties on one lot, like most lenders will do it, but they won't value both the properties. They'll only value one of the structures on the property.
Will they take the higher valued one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But like usually it comes back short, right? So really hard to fund. But there are some lenders outside of broker channel that will consider the value of both, and they'll get it done. But yeah, it's really tricky because like you would think like it's like 2 properties on one lot. Can't you just look at it as a duplex? Or like what about like the potential for the future? Like what if my client, you know, has a year to sever it, turn it into 2 separate properties, like 2 separate lots, and we just refinance out on both of them? Like, no, we can't do it.
Wow.
But yeah, like Yeah, so I have had to refer those out, but there are lenders that can get it done.
You know what? I have a property. Well, it's like a double duplex, but it's a 5 units, and it's attached by a deck and a concrete path. And those are the questions they asked. The appraiser asked me was, and I'm not sure if this has something to do with it. Is it attached in any way? Yeah, it's attached by a deck, and then there's attached by a road or like a concrete pathway. And they said, okay, you're good. And
Okay,
I'm not
interesting.
sure if that has something to do with it. I mean, this is a legal property, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
if there's something, a stipulation there. But I thought that was
Yeah, that's
interesting.
even easier than the breezeway. I gotta start doing attachment by decks. That's
Yeah,
great.
just run
So
some decks
wood deck.
across. Yeah. Some
Yeah, like I'm not too sure about that. Like for when I had these properties come to me, like there wasn't anything like that that could make it work out at most lenders. Yeah, I just had to find a lender that would make an exception on it. But yeah, like nothing ever came up about like the decks or like a cement pad.
It's kind of funny.
should try that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it definitely complicates things. And like it really is a stupid process that they can't fund them. It's like, hey, like you like two duplex. I had a deal like that where it was 4 units on one lot, but it was 2 separate properties. I'm like, can you guys just look at this as a fourplex? Like it's 4 units on one property. It's a good deal. Like, come on. Like, oh no, like, sorry.
Well,
like,
that's a proper use though. Double duplex is a proper use. Why can't that be valued as a 4 unit?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
another double duplex?
yeah, they would only value the one structure on the property, so it came back short. So had to refer it out.
Did you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like that was probably the biggest hurdle was like finding a lender that would actually finance this thing. So I was like running around trying to call every single bank, and then I found NBC was the first bank that was like, yeah, 2 like houses in one lot, yeah, we'll give it a fair value. So they praised that for like $475, I think it was like 1 2-bed, 1 bed in the back, and then I got that appraised.
How long ago was that?
not bad.
That was like my second and third bill, so it was like in 2021, I want to say.
So that's for the ADU though, right?
No, that's for like in total, like the whole lot, the 2 properties.
Right. So you got your main structure and then your detached ADU in the back.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's different. When it's an ADU, that's different, right? But if it's not an ADU, that's where it complicates things.
And another question, is that a residential mortgage or is that commercial mortgage?
That one was residential.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so because I did a construction loan once as well, but maybe like on bigger projects I'll think about construction loans. But just because this build process is so fast, like even for my clients, like I'll collect a deposit and then I don't collect money again until we're like 33% done completion.
What
of
kind
the
of
project.
deposit do you guys take?
We just do 10% up front and then 33, and then like 23 or whatever to
Yeah.
get to the 100.
Cool.
So with them, we'll take the 10% up front and then they'll just get a private loan for like the 2 months during construction. So they're really, they're not taking private for the whole duration of the build. It's from when we start to when we finish. And when we start, we're on site there like for the full 45 days or 45 to 60 days. So really it's like they just pull the private loan for like 2 months really.
That's not too bad.
So if you get like an open or really cheap, be able to close a mortgage, then you really just pay whatever the fee is to hold, 150 grand for,
12 months of interest, yeah.
or yeah, it's not a whole lot there.
Can you go commercial with these mortgages? Like, can you, even though it's a residential property, and if you can't get more, I can see a mortgage on the residential side, can we flip it? Let's say it cash flows a few $100, could we?
What would the advantage be of going commercial?
Well, just being able to
Cost
finance
more,
it.
no?
Well, what if it cash flows and it's now financeable versus not being financeable, right? Because they're gonna look at the cash flow versus looking at what the
Yeah, I see what you're
the-
saying,
the
yeah.
most.
They qualify you based on the performance of the property. Usually it's less about your credit and income, so it's a lot easier to qualify on the commercial side. Now for the ADU and stuff, I don't see really why it would be easier to get a commercial mortgage on it if you qualify on the residential side.
Let's say you couldn't, like, say, because as you mentioned, it's sometimes a little bit harder. So if that
Right.
option wasn't available to one of my clients, right? Could
Right.
they can go commercial as well?
Yeah, they definitely could as long as the cash flow is good. The overall performance is good. Right now, we are finding the commercial lenders though, like for single dwelling properties, they're kind of shying away.
What's the rate right now for commercial?
They're starting at like high 5s, low 6s right now. Yeah. There's a bit of a premium there.
It's not too bad.
I think the issue, Jeremy, just to answer your question, is more so around DCR. Like, what does the property service? How much cash flow is the property bringing in?
Of course.
And then the issue isn't like your income. Well, it comes into it, but it's more so how much money does the property? Because I finance all my properties commercially. It's how much money does the property bring in? So single family home or just 1 or 2 units might not work anymore, especially with higher rates.
That's why I mentioned like if it was cash flowing. Because for
Yeah.
example, what Clark was saying is if you can bill for one of these, let's say for $160,000 and it cash flow and it's let's say it makes $1,300 a month, that's a really good cap rate. If you think just of that property by itself. Obviously, we can't even talk about the 1% rule anymore because it doesn't exist. But that's as close as you're going to get in today's world especially on a new build.
Yeah, especially when you do plus utilities and
point.
you're not paying like all the new taxes, all the new insurance. Like
Yeah.
insurance goes up by 100, taxes go up by like 80, and that's the only extra bills you're paying really. So it's not, when you evaluate like that, it does pretty well.
I have another question out as well. For some of our like if, for example, I have a duplex, right? And I have an alleyway at the back. Could I build a tiny home?
No, but it is so dumb that you can't because you can have a single family and an ADU in the back. You cannot have a duplex.
So you can have a single family house with 2 additional, so like basically almost a triplex without
As long
saying
as the lot
triplex.
coverage is there, right?
Yeah.
But a duplex couldn't add additional. Okay.
It's so dumb, dude. I don't.
So, just to clarify, so no property that has more than 1 legal unit, you can't build an ADU on that.
Correct. Yeah. If it's a duplex, triplex, fourplex, you cannot build an ADU.
Okay, now what if does it build 20?
23.
Yeah, if that comes into play, does that change that?
That I don't know actually. I
Okay.
haven't read the whole documents there yet.
Probably have to see how the city interprets it.
Yeah, right.
Whatever they feel.
And with the ADUs, 2 of them, so for example, let's say that once again, 2-story single family house, right?
Yeah.
And you have a full height basement and a full height second story unit, right? Yeah. I couldn't do an ADU on the second floor and I can't do an ADU. I can only do one, right? Either on the basement or the second floor. I can't do both. It has to be, if you want to do 2, you have to be either on the second floor of the basement or as an add-on or and then the third one could be the detached, but the third has to be a detached structure, correct?
As far as I know, no. You can do single family plus 2 ADUs, like one on the top and one in the basement, or one in the top, one in the back. I haven't had a client go through that process yet, so we'll see what the city says. But as far as I know, that's you'd be able to do that.
2 ADUs, so essentially making it a
Max.
triplex.
Be a triplex.
Yeah,
in one structure.
as far as I know, yeah.
And then can you do a detached in the back as well? So it'll be 4 units total?
No, you can only do 2 ADUs total. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, Graeme. So I got a question for you now. Actually, obviously you run Thompson Asset Management. I'm sure you probably draw a salary from there. But I see the commercial kind of projects or properties that you're taking on projects, and I'm assuming you're trying to purchase them for yourself or in your own corporation. Like, how is someone like you managing to kind of pull off the financing on these projects?
Yeah, so I've actually done everything commercially, except for my personal residence. So when you pull my credit profile, I only have my personal mortgage. So that helps in terms of qualifying from a personal side, or looking solid to the commercial lenders. My credit score is pretty good. But the property is what matters. So you have to find, especially right now, is really good deals in order to make them work. And what I'm focusing on is redevelopment. So finding older buildings, multi-unit buildings that maybe are vacant or in really, really bad condition. Increasing the quality of the units, so renovations, getting good rents in there, making sure the cash flow hits a certain amount, because on the back end, when we're going back to the bank, it comes back to DCR. How much cash flow is that place
DCR is
bringing
the
in?
number, yeah, it's biggest sell.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you want to pull 70% or 80% LTV, because it's really all about what you're bringing in and what the property can service. I mean, you can't go above 75%, but
So are you sorry if I'm asking like 2 personal questions. Is it like, are you like personally guaranteeing these things?
Get
or?
real personal.
oh yeah. Unfortunately, the lenders I use use personal guarantees.
And they'll let you kind of personal guarantees, like project after project after project after project?
Yeah, they look at the property. So they look at the property, and that's how they underwrite it. And then they want the person who's behind it, the directors, whether it's 1 or 2 or more, to have, decent credit reports, decent income. And I think that's just in case something bad happens. But, worst case scenario, is this guy, take care of his finances? But
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Cause I want to, eventually kind of start doing like bigger development projects. And
So I was gonna ask you, are you thinking of building something more than just tiny homes, or are you working on something that's?
yeah, we have we bought a burned down fourplex on Drouillard last year,
Okay.
2 years ago now. It's right at the corner of like Drouillard and Richmond.
how many units were
Oh,
actually in
is
that
it
building?
brick? It's brick building, right? I think I know it.
Yeah, the actual so the actual building I'm honestly, because you know how it's like, oh, you can't get insurance on a building, and then on a legal building and it gets fired and burns down, you're gonna go to jail. Like, I don't know how that guy didn't go to jail, bro. Like there was
Oh, you
like
didn't have insurance?
no, he had
No.
insurance for a fourplex, but there was like 8 dudes crammed in that thing, like there were like 8 units. Sorry.
I remember going through that property, and I went in the basement, and it's like, yeah, this is where the first fire happened. I'm like, how many fires were there?
Yeah, it was like
and then it
charcoal
burned,
ceiling.
actually burned down again.
Yeah. The tenants must have hated him.
Didn't he have that property sold and it burnt down from like time of purchase to closing or something like
Yes, it
that?
did.
Yeah, just shitty luck, eh?
Yeah, if you want to call it that, I guess. But yeah, so we ended up buying that one and tore it
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
And we got plans
What's
to.
your plans with that? Yeah.
Gonna do kind of small retail at the front, and then doing 8 units total with that one.
Nice.
8 units.
Yeah.
Legally.
Legally this time.
Legally.
Yes. So yeah, that's the project we got. Hopefully breaking ground later this year. But again, it's just like finding that project where I don't have to take an insurmountable amount of like debt, to pull off the early stages. So it's kind of finding that, like 6 to like 8 units, I think is the project I'm gonna do this year and the next year, and then if it goes well, hopefully more later.
Neat.
Yeah, good for you. That's going to be a great addition to the Ford City area there.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it's a
Ford
perfect
City.
location. It like really like completes that whole section there.
It will, yeah.
Yeah, especially that guy doing like revamping the whole building like right across the street there too.
Yeah.
Like that's.
You probably saw that and you're like, yes.
I was like, thank God.
What do you guys think needs to go in Ford City? Just as when we're talking about that area, like it's really popping.
Go Ford City?
Ford City, like right on Drouillard there, like people are going out there on Friday nights. There's a couple places. Like, what else do you guys think should be added there? Like,
They gotta bring the Grand Cantina back.
I know, man. I'm disappointed. That's
Yeah,
leaving.
that's a
They're
bummer.
gone.
That one's a bummer.
Are they bringing barbecue in there? Or?
Yeah.
So the guy that does, there's a Saturday market every weekend downtown Windsor, and there's a guy that does these pulled pork sandwiches. Mint. So
You're
he's
getting
gonna be in there. Oh, they're so good. So he's gonna open up a shop there, which would be great, I think, right?
For sure, for sure.
I'm happy they're bringing in another cool restaurant.
That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of your question, I think just bringing more businesses in.
Yeah.
I
think another like bar restaurant thing would be cool there too. You kind of like
Yeah,
hop around
yeah,
and
nighttime
stuff, go
space.
and enjoy your night there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Pressure Drop kind of does something like that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
Does Pressure Drop have an outdoor like lights and stuff like that? There's one on Drouillard. I don't know if that's it.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
yeah, they have like the side lots, like an outdoor patio.
Okay,
and-
yeah, it's
yeah, they got like
it's
a guy
nice.
there, like barbecues and
I
stuff.
walked by it in
and,
the summertime. It looked pretty nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. On my way to get some tacos and margaritas.
yeah, it's a cool spot. Yeah, like, do you have any idea what you would like in like the retail space of that property that you're gonna be building?
No, I was talking with a couple of the CIP guys, because they have like people always flowing out. So they're like, Clark, give us, a date when you're close to completion, and then we can start kind of interviewing some of those guys.
Cool.
So no clue yet,
Nice.
but something that's not going to mess up the apartments above, because like I don't know, like I've just been in a couple of apartments where it's like a heavy restaurant, down below, and there's like yelling and screaming and all that stuff.
noisy.
So
Yeah.
it's gotta. I don't know if I'm going to be that guy that runs the bar down there, but I'd lean more towards
Could
retail.
be a cool lunch or coffee spot even.
Yeah, something
Like
like
cafe. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like a Tallulah cafe.
Yeah, miniature. Yeah. How big is the retail space?
I think that's about 500 square feet, so it's
Nice.
not huge.
Okay.
So you're really setting the weight on the residential there in that building.
If I could do all residential, I would.
Yeah.
They
But
want you to put some retail storefront.
yeah, to get the grants that I wanted to get, we had to do like a little bit of retail.
Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be like a smaller shop in there.
Neat. That's cool.
Smart.
But yeah, that's the goal. Is finishing that one, see how that one goes, and then kind of going from there. But I don't know, the tiny home business is nice because like I've just done so many now, and we have contracts. Like we've done. I just finished our 11th, and we have I think 10.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Cool.
Yeah, so we finished 11, and then we got 10 more like signed to build, for the rest of the months until like February of next year already. And then we got to layer on a couple other big projects on top of that. It's like tiny home business. I think it's like such an old machine that that's always probably going to be there. Then it's like just like tacking on bigger and bigger projects on top of that.
Nice.
Yeah, good for you.
That's fantastic.
And do you think eventually you might turn into a multifamily builder or a
you're
new
kinda building your
development
first
guy,
one.
or what do you?
That'd be the dream, honestly. Is like I just see a lot in the States. Like there's a lot of like dudes that just do like really really cool like 20 to like 40 unit, 50 unit developments. Like I'd love to get to that space. But again, I don't want to take on LPs or like partners.
Sure. Yeah.
So you want to do it all with Clark's money?
Clarke and Nate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't. It's gonna take me a few years before I can pull that off. So these projects got to go right in the next 5 to 7 years, and then year 10 or year 8, hopefully get to something like that.
And where do you think Windsor could really use that multifamily development?
I'm obsessed with. I haven't done it myself yet, but obsessed with like lot mergers. So like buying like a couple like shitty houses beside each other,
And putting them together.
knocking them
Okay.
down, and doing something like that. So honestly, somewhere downtown.
How does that work out? You just go to the city and say, look, I own these 3 homes. I want to merge them all together, knock them down. They just put them under one address?
Yeah, so when you buy, the address thing, that's actually really easy to create and kind of disregard in the city.
Okay.
There's a guy named Derek at the city, call him and he does all that.
Okay.
But if you own houses side by side, essentially tear them down, and the lots actually merge if you own houses side by side. Like there might have been a DCI deal where it was like a wholesaler. He shot out 2 properties. It was like a duplex and a single family side by side. And he's like, yeah, you have to buy them together. You can't buy them separate. Because when one person owns 2 properties side by side, the lots automatically merge.
Really?
It's
Right.
didn't know
really
As long as it's in the same name, and it has to be. So, for example,
Yeah.
let's just say I own
So it's gotta be
1,
Jeremy
2,
McGraw,
3
Jeremy
Main
McGraw.
Street, but I also own 1, 2, 5 Main Street with you. Those would say separate. But if I owned both of them, they would combine.
Well, that's cool.
However, I've heard of people getting around that by putting their middle name on the property there,
That's funny. That would work. That would work actually.
or you know,
So they don't merge? Is that what you're saying?
so that if you make it different, because the system wouldn't kind of.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. For example, let's just say that there's 2 Andrew MacLeods in Windsor,
Yeah. I think there is. It actually is.
and let's say you buy the house next to Andrew MacLeod,
Yeah.
it would technically merge both of them together because it would understand who the different person is.
So what about when you go to sell it though? Like, does it take that off?
You
'Cause then
have
you're
to.
selling
You
2
have
properties
to.
on one lot.
You have to go through the city and sever the lot and then sell it off. So it's going to cost you a few $1,000 bucks to
Yeah,
do, and
yeah.
a few months of
Interesting.
headaches. Of course, there's always headaches. That's why some people just prefer to sell, like for example, like farms, because everyone always wants that frontage, right? Oh, everyone always goes, well, why don't you just split and sever all these lots? For the most part, it's not about the money. It's just it'll take 6 months to over a couple of years to sever some of these things, because you have to go through so many hoops with the city, because the city was always going to look at a book and go, my book tells me you can only do this and that, and there's no arguing, because they're not going to come to the site. They're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to read a book, and the book's going to tell them what they can and cannot do, and that's what they're going to tell you to do.
Yeah. No. So in terms of the whole like lot merger thing, like it's pretty simple as long as and then you kind of like look at the maps, like what is zoning, the official plan, like where does the city kind of see this stuff, get their buy-ins for like water, sewer, all that kind of jazz. But yeah, there's guys in the states that I just follow them. They just do that for a living, and like I'd love to get
Okay.
there. But that's like way down the line.
How does it work getting the services set up for one of those tiny homes? That was one of the questions I had. You just call the utility providers and say, I need service?
So really, we only run electrical to the tiny homes. For the
Okay.
heating and cooling, we do the mini splits.
How about water? I guess it'd be all
Yeah, the heat pumps, right? So
Yeah. So the heat pumps, that does the hydro, and then for
Okay.
the water, you find like this the main sewer stack and where the water line is coming into the main house.
Yeah.
You just kind of hire a plumber. He tees off from there and then shoots it to the back. If you were to do a brand new house on a brand new lot, tying in from the street, like the city of Windsor Street, that'll run your inner from like 23 to 29 grand. But
Okay.
running sewer and water from your existing primary house to the backyard cost me about 2 to 3 grand.
Oh, wow.
Big difference.
So huge.
10%
yeah.
of the price.
And then you call up Enwin, they go, find the closest hydro pole.
Yeah.
If it's less than 20 feet, they just pull it in. If it's more than 20 feet, you got to pull up a new stack. But yeah, that's also pretty cheap to do. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like just doing development, but on a much cheaper and smaller scale.
Yeah. It's probably been a good learning experience.
Extremely. From someone that doesn't come from construction, the first 2 years
Yeah.
were crazy. Yeah.
That's cool. I bet your parents are proud of you. Like back to like your original story, like, my parents are really nice people, really wanted to buy a house.
they're really nice and also not really capitalistic, so they like what I'm
Okay.
doing, but I don't know if
They're like, yeah, it's cool, Clark.
yeah, they're just like, oh, the party, they don't want to learn beyond that, but yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
it's cool.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, I think that's it for this episode, guys. I hope that everybody got a lot of great information about ADUs. Obviously, we didn't touch on everything, so I'm sure people will have questions. If you have any questions, we're going to have Clark's information in the bio below. So please reach out to him, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any of your questions and come check out your property and see what he can do there. Thanks for coming on the show, Clark. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
I
guys.
appreciate it,
It
buddy.
was a blast. Cool.
Thanks, Clark.
Awesome.